Number 15. YouTube Prankster. In a shocking incident that occurred at Newcastle Airport on July 3, 2023, a 19-year-old YouTube prankster, Jared Nadella, is now facing severe legal consequences after his ill-advised stunt involving a fake bomb threat. The young content creator, hailing from Ellison Villas and Gateshead, recorded himself inside the airport's terminal walking past check-in desks and falsely claiming to be in possession of an explosive device. He intended to upload this alarming footage to his YouTube channel, presumably in pursuit of online fame. However, Nadella's plan was swiftly thwarted by the quick response of security personnel and officers from Northumbria Police, who apprehended him just minutes after he entered the airport premises. The recording was abruptly interrupted, leading to his immediate detention. Subsequently, he was taken into custody and charged with the serious offense of communicating false information about a bomb hoax. Facing the consequences of his misguided prank, Nadella appeared before Newcastle Magistrates Court on July 5th, where he pleaded guilty to the charges. The court remanded him in custody until August 2nd, when he was scheduled to be sentenced at Newcastle Crown Court. The gravity of his actions was underscored by Detective Inspector Steve Byrne of Northumbria Police, who emphasized the recklessness of such behavior, labeling it as an incredibly stupid thing to do. Detective Inspector Byrne cautioned that engaging in pranks of this nature at airports can result in a jail term of up to 7 years. Nadella's premeditated stunt, deemed a criminal offense, not only disrupted airport operations, but also caused unnecessary distress to both staff and passengers. The investigator expressed confidence that the guilty plea in court underscored the seriousness of the offense. As the incident took place in the summer months with increased travel and heightened security concerns, Detective Inspector Byrne highlighted the collaborative efforts with partners such as counter-terrorism policing, the UK Border Force and airport security staff to ensure the smooth functioning of transportation hubs. The warning that was issued reminds us that law enforcement takes such offenses seriously, aiming to deter individuals from engaging in irresponsible and potentially dangerous pranks, particularly in sensitive environments like airports. Number 14. TikTok train video. Thanks to an incident from May of 2023, notorious TikTok personality Bakari Bronze Ogaro, who's widely known as Mitzi, is now facing serious charges for allegedly jeopardizing the safety of a train by interfering with its controls. Ogaro, who's infamous for his outrageous online pranks, is accused of entering the driver's cab of a train in Stratford, East London, where he purportedly tampered with both controls and safety equipment. The Mail obtained a 40-second video capturing the incident, wherein Ogaro can be seen laughing among friends as he picks up a phone handset in the driver's compartment, brazenly stating, "Hello, can I call the police?" Later that same month, the 18-year-old appeared before Thames Magistrates Court in Bow, East London, facing 3 separate charges related to this incident. Despite the legal proceedings, Ogaro remained in custody as his mother, who was reportedly fed up with his actions, refused to have him back home. This court appearance came just 3 days after Ogaro was charged for allegedly intruding into a £2 million property in Dalston that's owned by a banker and interior designer. In response, a criminal behavior order was imposed, prohibiting him from filming people without their consent. However, Ogaro allegedly breached this order on the same day and was subsequently arrested. During the recent court proceedings, prosecutor Rose Edwin accused Ogaro of displaying disdain for the justice system, highlighting his blatant disregard for complying with court orders. But despite the serious nature of the charges, Ogaro pleaded not guilty. The judge, noting his alleged defiance, remanded him in custody until his next court appearance the following Tuesday. In the end, Ogaro, or Mitzi, was found guilty of 2 separate counts of breaching a criminal behavior order, and as a result, he was banned from using all forms of social media. Ogaro's past antics, which include stealing a pet dog, destroying library books, and jumping into strangers' cars, have contributed to his controversial reputation. Following his last court appearance, he boldly asserted during a TV interview with Piers Morgan that UK laws are weak, showcasing a concerning level of disregard for legal consequences and public safety. Number 13. Daisy Dukes. In a recent prank gone awry, YouTuber Daisy Dukes, known as Daisy Dukes TV on the platform with over 92,000 subscribers, faced legal repercussions after simulating the destruction of TV screens in a Walmart store. The incident, which unfolded on August 24, 2023, involved Daisy carrying her own TV into the store, placing it on a shelf, and then dramatically smashing the screen with a baseball bat. Walmart employees, unaware of the staged nature of the prank, promptly called the police. Upon arrival, a police officer handcuffed Daisy, despite her attempts to explain that it was her personal TV and not store property. Prior to this, she'd received a reprimand from store employees for recording inside the store, but she continued to do so anyway. In the video, at around the 13-minute mark, a police officer approached Daisy and proceeded to handcuff her. She vehemently insisted, "No, I didn't bust the TV up. That's my TV. I brought that TV from my house." The camera person was instructed to move along, possibly escorted by the officer, and the fate of Daisy remained uncertain as the camera cut off. However, considering her subsequent uploads of prank-styled videos, it suggests that she likely faced minor consequences, possibly confirming the TV's ownership. The incident gained attention when Drama Alert, a popular page on X, formerly Twitter, shared the clip, sparking critical comments like, "Just smile politely, y'all, we're witnessing mental illness." Daisy's situation isn't isolated, as the content creation community witnessed another arrest involving controversial streamer Paul Ice Poseidon. He was detained by Thai police during an IRL stream for filming an inappropriate dance video in a hotel. Daisy Dukes' experience serves as a cautionary tale, prompting discussions about the boundaries of online content creation and the potential legal implications associated with such stunts. Number 12. Naked in the Aquarium. In January 2024, a disruptive incident unfolded in Leeds, Alabama, when a 42-year-old man engaged in erratic behavior that led to his arrest. According to Leeds Police Chief Paul Irwin, the sequence of events began just before the closing time of a local Bass Pro Shop. The suspect, reportedly behaving erratically, crashed his vehicle into a pole in the store's parking lot. Then afterward, he exited his vehicle, removed all his clothes, and entered the Bass Pro Shop. Inside the store, he made a daring move by jumping naked into a large aquarium, creating a spectacle witnessed by bystanders. Some onlookers captured the bizarre scene on video, depicting the man's cannonball into the aquarium and his later positioning under the waterfall. Responding to the disturbance, 2 Leeds Police Department officers approached the man as he stood in the aquarium. The suspect then reportedly yelled at the officers, prompting him to jump back into the water. When the officers ascended the stairs towards him, the man climbed over the side of the aquarium, fell, and briefly lost consciousness. However, he regained consciousness as the officers handcuffed him, attempting to resist arrest. Following the arrest, the suspect was covered with a blanket before being escorted out of the store. Leeds Police Chief Irwin revealed that the man was subsequently taken to a hospital for a mental health evaluation before being booked into the St. Clair County Jail. The suspect's family reportedly informed authorities that he was grappling with mental health issues. The man now faces a series of charges, including public lewdness, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, assault on a police officer, 2 counts of first-degree criminal mischief, and 2 counts of reckless endangerment. It was reported that he caused damage to the back door of the police car during transportation as well. As of now, neither the Leeds Police Department nor Bass Pro Shops has responded to inquiries for further information, leaving some aspects of the peculiar incident yet to be clarified. And since this case is so recent, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming months. Number 11. Phony job offers. In a bizarre series of pranks targeting coaches from the NFL, NBA, and college football, 32-year-old Kenneth Edward Tarr was arrested in Los Angeles in December of 2013. Tarr allegedly deceived at least a dozen coaches by posing as a representative offering them coaching positions with professional or college teams. The LAPD charged him with felony eavesdropping, accusing him of recording the prank calls without the victim's consent, which is a violation of California law. Tar's arrest occurred at his Hollywood residence, and LA County jail records revealed that he was held on $20,000 bail. Authorities highlighted the seriousness of the eavesdropping charge, emphasizing that the investigation was ongoing while they attempted to identify additional victims. Law enforcement sources didn't specify the number of coaching staff affected by Tar's pranks, but earlier in the year, the University of Southern California's athletic director, Pat Hayden, disclosed that imposters unrelated to Tar had contacted coaches under false pretenses regarding the Trojans' coaching vacancy. Former NFL coach Tony Dungy also found himself embroiled in the hoax, publicly revealing his apparent contact with USC on a national radio show. Dungy later clarified via Twitter that he'd been misled by someone acting independently and expressed apologies to Hayden for the confusion. Tar, in an interview with ABC News, claimed he was more talented than renowned comedians like Andy Kaufman and deserved higher pay than professional athletes like Anton Jameson. He justified his hoaxes and pranks as a means of showcasing his art, since Hollywood wasn't recognizing his work. In a text to ABC News' Nick Watt, Tar admitted to conducting various sports hoaxes, including one on the Los Angeles Clippers, where he posed as retired basketball player Sharif Abdur-Rahim. Tar's history of pranking extends beyond the sports realm, as he claimed to have duped television shows like The Ricky Lake Show and Judge Alex. His previous exploits included pretending that his greatest wish was to sleep with his best friend's girlfriend and fabricating a scenario where he, as a plumber, got locked in a mortuary overnight, ultimately winning a fake case on Judge Alex and earning $1,137. Unfortunately, though, it's unclear if Tar was ever convicted. Number 10. Animal Rights Extremist. In September of 2019, animal rights activist 24-year-old Dylan Roffey gained attention for wearing a pig's mask and spreading fake blood in a Brighton McDonald's as part of a protest against animal cruelty. Roffey accused the legal system of wasting public money after being sentenced to 60 hours of unpaid work for criminal damage. She'd marched into the McDonald's with approximately 10 to 20 protesters, sitting in a pool of fake blood made of flour and food dye, while holding up pictures of farm animals with the phrase, "I want to live." Roffey was convicted at Brighton Magistrates Court, and she was ordered to pay £250 court costs, £50 compensation to McDonald's, and an £85 victim surcharge. This sentencing followed a previous incident where she received 150 hours of unpaid work for allegedly spitting in a woman's face and verbally assaulting her at Brighton Station over a Canada Goose fur coat. In an exclusive interview, Roffey criticized the arrest, stating that people shouldn't be apprehended for having basic compassion and protesting against animal exploitation. She defended her actions as an attempt to raise awareness and attract publicity for the cause of human rights. During the hearing, Judge Amanda Kelly dismissed the charge of resisting arrest, but sentenced Roffey for criminal damage, emphasizing that the damage, even if temporary, could still be considered criminal. The judge acknowledged Roffey's intention to raise awareness, but deemed her actions inappropriate for providing immediate protection to animals. Roffey became a vegan 4 years prior, motivated by a desire to align her actions with her compassion for animals. She highlighted her discomfort upon learning about the treatment of animals in slaughterhouses, leading her to adopt a vegan lifestyle. In addition to the McDonald's incident, Roffey faced another conviction for spitting at a woman and was ordered to pay £500 court costs, £150 compensation, and another £85 surcharge. Despite the CCTV footage being unclear, Judge Kelly affirmed the conviction, describing the act as a serious offense. Throughout her life, Roffey has been an animal lover, demonstrating her commitment to animal rights from a young age. Her activism reflects her passion for promoting the ethical treatment of animals and challenging practices that contribute to their suffering. However, there's a right way to advocate for change, and there's a wrong way to do it. And in this case, Roffey was definitely going about things the wrong way. Number 9. Kidnapping Hoax. In a surprising incident that unfolded in Jackson, Tennessee in November 2022, Marquita Kinnan alarmed her family by staging a fake kidnapping, sparking a police response and ultimately leading to her arrest. The situation began on a Monday night when Kinnan sent distressing text messages to her family, claiming that she'd been kidnapped and was in imminent danger. Concerned for her safety, the family promptly contacted the Jackson Police Department, providing details like a vehicle description based on Kinnan's messages. Captain Christopher Chestnut of the Jackson Police Department recounted that Kinnan had orchestrated a staged phone call during which someone pretended to be her abductor, yelling at her through the phone. Unaware that it was a prank, the police responded to her last known location at her home on Manchester Bay at around 4:01 p.m. To the officer's surprise, upon reaching Kinnan's residence, she answered the door herself. It was revealed that the entire ordeal was part of a TikTok challenge intended as a prank on her family. However, the consequences were severe, as Kinnan was subsequently arrested for filing a false report. Captain Chestnut emphasized the serious implications of such pranks, stressing that false claims like these divert law enforcement resources away from their essential duties. He highlighted the potential danger posed to individuals driving vehicles matching the description provided, as they might be unaware of the police response and the reason for being stopped. Kinnan was arraigned in Jackson City Court. Her bond was set at $3,000 and she was scheduled to appear in court again on November 23rd at 9:30 a.m. The case, however, appears to be ongoing, as there's been no recent updates. The incident serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of staging fake emergencies, especially in a climate where genuine abduction concerns are prevalent. Number 8. Ebola virus prank. In 2014, a seemingly innocent joke about having the Ebola virus in Horn Lake, Mississippi, triggered a serious response from law enforcement, firefighters, and health officials. The incident unfolded when Robert Moltz and Alan Beard found themselves called to the Horn Lake Fire Department following a joke they made with a mutual friend that spiraled out of control. According to WMC-TV, Beard and Moltz had been joking about a rash on Beard's arm, leading their friend to believe it was related to the Ebola virus. The friend in turn informed his father, who promptly contacted the police. Despite the friend being aware of the joke, the situation escalated, drawing the attention of city resources. Upon arriving at the Horn Lake Fire Department, Beard and Moltz faced serious consequences. Beard recounted that they were warned by authorities, who stated, "We have the right to shoot you if you get out of the car." The two men were instructed to remain in the vehicle until a county health worker confirmed that they didn't exhibit Ebola symptoms. Mayor Alan Latimer expressed frustration over the incident, citing the unnecessary use of city and county resources for what turned out to be a hoax. Mayor Latimer voiced his intent to work with the police to bring charges against Beard and Moltz. He emphasized the seriousness of the situation, stating that they would pursue any and every charge we can find to be leveled against them. But despite the potential legal repercussions, Beard asserted his constitutional right to freedom of speech, indicating a willingness to face charges if pressed by the mayor. In response to the escalating situation, Beard later issued an apology during a call to WMC-TV. Expressing regret, he acknowledged that the joke had gone too far and apologized to the people and mayor of Horn Lake. Number 7. Impersonating the police. In 2019, a YouTube prankster from Bradenton named Charles Ross found himself facing a felony charge of impersonating a law enforcement officer after his April Fool's Day stunt took a disturbing turn in Sarasota County, Florida. Dressed in a law enforcement officer's uniform and wielding a baton, the 25-year-old approached a mother and her 2 children in the Steak and Shake parking lot on Cattleman Road at around 4 p.m. Ross, claiming to be writing a ticket for a parking violation, alarmed the woman, who grew suspicious and loudly challenged him to attract attention. And as the situation escalated, Ross became more aggressive before revealing it was all a prank and leaving. However, he didn't stop there. Ross later approached the woman while driving a vehicle, prompting her to threaten to call 911. Fleeing the scene, Ross was identified through his license plate, which was recorded by the victim and corroborated by a witness. He was then subsequently arrested on April 3rd. Known for self-proclaimed entertaining pranks, Ross had a history of arrests, including incidents such as giving people wedgies outside a movie theater, flipping over deputies at Siesta Beach, and running onto the field at a Tampa Bay Rays game while only wearing underwear. Sheriff Tom Knight criticized Ross for his lack of judgment and disrespect for the community and law enforcement. Knight expressed concerns about the potential dangers associated with Ross's actions, especially given the current tensions surrounding law enforcement work. The sheriff stressed the importance of differentiating between seeking fame on YouTube and putting people on edge by pretending to be an officer. Knight commended the victim for her actions and denounced Ross's behavior as adolescent, tying up law enforcement resources that could be better utilized elsewhere. He also warned that Ross's escalating antics, such as removing a stop sign in Manatee County, could lead to someone getting seriously hurt or even killed. Urging Ross to grow up and find a real job, Knight emphasized the seriousness of the charges. Ross faced a single felony count of impersonating a law enforcement officer and was released from the Sarasota County Jail on $10,000 bail. But the case is ongoing. Number 6. Poisonous eye drops. In April 2015, an incident unfolded at Central Regional High School in Bayville, New Jersey, when a teacher, Kelly Gross, fell victim to a potentially deadly prank. A student reportedly spiked her drink with Visine, prompting her to become sick and requiring a trip to the hospital. Tom Gross, Kelly's husband, expressed disbelief at the incident, stressing his wife's dedication to the students at the high school. The motive behind deliberately contaminating her drink remained unclear, adding to the emotional distress caused by the cruel joke. The consequences of ingesting Visine, a saline solution, can be severe according to the FDA, leading to health issues such as nausea, vomiting, restricted breathing, lethargy, and in extreme cases, coma. The gravity of the situation became apparent as Kelly Gross spent hours in the hospital, grappling with the aftermath of the dangerous prank. Students at the school were shocked by the incident, with one expressing concern about the potential serious harm that would have occurred. The motivation behind the students' actions was described as an attempt to pull a prank, punctuating the need for caution in such matters. Superintendent Dr. Triantafilo Palapanides asserted that the students' poor decision-making would have consequences. The student faced suspension pending a board hearing where the severity of the punishment would be determined. Additionally, Berkeley Township Police took action, taking the juvenile into custody and charging them with aggravated assault on a school board member. The student was released to their parents, awaiting juvenile court proceedings. The incident raised questions about the safety and well-being of teachers and staff in educational institutions, identifying the need for vigilance and preventative measures to deter potentially harmful pranks. Kelly Gross's prior illness with similar symptoms a week before the spiked drink added another layer of concern, with some wondering if she'd been poisoned on more than one occasion. Number 5. Disneyland Streaker. In an unusual incident that occurred at Disneyland in Anaheim, California, a man's naked escapade disrupted the It's a Small World ride, resulting in its closure for over an hour. The event unfolded at around 1:30 p.m. and was documented by visitors on social media, particularly on Instagram. Instagram user iHeartDisneyland shared a video capturing the man's unconventional stroll through the iconic ride. In the footage, the individual, sporting only glasses and a black pair of underwear, nonchalantly meandered around the displays. The video also revealed a pile of what seemed to be the man's discarded clothes nearby. Another video, posted by user Magic with Miegra, depicted the same individual climbing over the ride's display and venturing into the imitation water in front of the Taj Mahal section. Throughout this audacious act, Disney cast members were heard urging the man to descend, expressing concerns for his safety. Despite the bizarre situation, though, witnesses commended the cast members for their adept handling of the incident. The unauthorized display not only caused a temporary shutdown of the It's a Small World ride, but also left park guests bewildered by the unexpected interruption. The man's actions prompted reactions ranging from shock to amusement among those present. Thankfully, law enforcement swiftly responded to the incident and apprehended the individual. The motivations behind the man's peculiar behavior remain unclear, and it hasn't been disclosed whether or not he was under the influence of substances or experiencing a mental health episode. While Disneyland strives to provide a magical and family-friendly environment, unforeseen incidents like this occasionally disrupt the usual enchantment of the theme park. Despite the amusement park's commitment to visitor safety, incidents like these underscore the challenges faced by staff in maintaining order and addressing unexpected disruptions, ensuring the overall well-being of park attendees. As the incident gained attention on social media, it acted as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of public spaces, even those designed for joy and entertainment. Number 4. False threats. In March of 2023, U.S. authorities arrested Ashton Connor Garcia, a 20-year-old resident of Bremerton, Washington, for allegedly making over 20 swatting calls across the United States and Canada. The calls, which involved false reports of bombs, shootings, or other threats, triggered real emergency responses, and posed potentially deadly situations. Garcia reportedly utilized voice-over internet technology to conceal his identity while placing the calls in the previous year. Shockingly, he treated these dangerous incidents as entertainment, broadcasting them on the social media platform Discord. Federal prosecutors filed 10 felony counts against Garcia in U.S. District Court in Tacoma, Washington, potentially carrying a sentence of up to a decade in prison. Seattle U.S. Attorney Nick Brown emphasized the gravity of Garcia's actions, stating that each false report triggered potentially lethal events by sending heavily armed police officers to addresses where they believed they'd confront an armed and dangerous individual. Fortunately, though, no injuries were reported. But Brown underscored the unpredictable and terrifying nature of these swatting incidents for the victims. Garcia's arrest coincided with a series of threats and false reports of shooters targeting schools and colleges nationwide. While he wasn't accused of sending SWAT teams to schools, prosecutors revealed that Garcia had collected personal information about victims and used it to extort money, credit card details, or explicit images, threatening to send emergency responses to their homes if they refused. The indictment outlined various instances, including fake bomb scares for Fox News station in Cleveland and a threat to bomb a Los Angeles airport unless he received $200,000 in Bitcoin. Garcia placed the calls to agencies in multiple states and even in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Authorities highlighted the potential dangers of such hoaxes, focusing on the risks they pose to both the public and law enforcement. In 2017, a police officer in Wichita, Kansas shot and killed a man while responding to a swatting call, resulting in a $5 million settlement in a lawsuit filed by the victim's family. Garcia's case reflects the serious legal consequences of engaging in swatting activities that put lives at risk. Number 3. The Second Coming of Jesus Christ. In November 2011, Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez, an Idaho man, was charged with attempting to kill President Barack Obama by firing 9 shots at the White House with an assault rifle. Ortega Hernandez claimed to be the second coming of Jesus Christ and referred to President Obama as the Antichrist. The incident occurred while the president was out of the White House, and thankfully no injuries were reported. Ortega Hernandez was arraigned in Pittsburgh, facing charges of attempted assassination, a crime that could lead to a life sentence if convicted. His abandoned car was discovered near the scene of the shooting, containing an assault rifle with a scope and 9 spent shell casings. A video made by Ortega Hernandez at Idaho State University in September revealed his messianic delusions. In the recording, he asserted, "It's not just a coincidence that I look like Jesus. I am the modern-day Jesus Christ that you all have been waiting for." He also discussed Nostradamus and claimed to have received a message through time. Ramon Bailey, a student who filmed a video at Ortega Hernandez's request, described feeling disturbed by the content. Ortega Hernandez had approached Bailey randomly, asking him to film a commercial. Although Bailey hesitated, he eventually agreed. The video led to Bailey being subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in Washington, D.C. on November 22nd. Ortega Hernandez's erratic behavior extended beyond the assassination attempt. He reportedly told an acquaintance that President Obama planned to implant computer tracking chips into children. However, his mother insisted that he had no history of mental illness. The case illuminated the potential intersection of mental health issues with criminal behavior, emphasizing the importance of addressing such cases with a balanced understanding of both legal consequences and mental health considerations. Number 2. Ice Cream Gate. In August 2019, Adrian Anderson, a 24-year-old Texas man, gained notoriety for a video in which he licked a tub of ice cream in a Walmart superstore and then put it back in the freezer. The incident led to his arrest on a charge of criminal mischief, and recently in 2020, he was sentenced to 30 days in jail with a $1,000 fine and a 6-month suspended sentence. As to not draw things out any further, Anderson pleaded guilty to the charges. The video, shared on social media, prompted swift action from law enforcement. But despite the surveillance footage showing that Anderson later purchased a tub of ice cream, Walmart and Blue Bell took the incident seriously. Blue Bell, the ice cream company whose product was involved, restocked all the ice cream in the freezer as a precautionary measure. Walmart emphasized the severity of tampering with food products, expressing its commitment to cooperating with law enforcement in such cases. In addition to the jail jail sentence and fine, Anderson was ordered to complete 100 hours of community service. Furthermore, he's required to pay $1,565 to Blue Bell, reflecting the company's costs associated with restocking the ice cream. Anderson's case was part of a disturbing trend in 2019, where several individuals filmed themselves licking supermarket ice cream. In a similar incident, a Texas woman faced potential charges in June 2019 after her video licking Blue Bell ice cream went viral. Authorities indicated that she could face up to 20 years in prison. Another similar case involved a 36-year-old man in Belle Rose, Louisiana, who faced arrest in July of that same year for the same accusation, even though he eventually purchased the ice cream. Law enforcement underscored the gravity of these actions, viewing them not merely as pranks but as instances with potentially dangerous consequences, as tampering with food products is never safe. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. Number 1. Mic drop moment. In a shocking incident at Liverpool's iconic Cavern Club, singer Jay Murray was violently attacked while performing Neil Diamond's classic Sweet Caroline. The assault was captured on video, showing a man invading the stage, grabbing Jay's legs, flipping him in the air, and slamming him to the floor. The assailant, wearing jeans and a jumper, proceeded to kick Jay while he was down before swiftly fleeing the scene. The Cavern Club, renowned for launching the Beatles to fame, expressed its dismay on Twitter, denouncing the unprovoked attack on one of its entertainers. The club's statement explained that such an incident had never occurred in its 28-year history. The venue's door staff apprehended the attacker and the police were called, although Jay chose not to press charges at the time. Remarkably, despite the ordeal, Jay returned to the stage to continue his set with no major injuries. In his response on Facebook, Jay Murray reflected on the incident, humorously noting his newfound celebrity status on social media. He highlighted the speed of the attack, expressing gratitude that it wasn't more severe. Jay also mentioned that in the heat of the moment, he retaliated against the assailant, who subsequently apologized, revealing that the attacker was crying and remorseful. Jay urged kindness among people and expressed his appreciation for the support he received. The video of the assault went viral on social media, eliciting widespread condemnation of the violent act. Social media users expressed their disgust, stating that there was no justification for such abuse, especially against someone working and entertaining the audience. Many also hoped for the assailant's apprehension by the police. The Cavern Club, which was initially opened as a jazz venue in 1957, quickly became the epicenter of Liverpool's rock and roll scene. Throughout the swinging 60s, it played a pivotal role in shaping the city's musical landscape, regularly hosting the Beatles during their early years. The shocking attack on Jay Murray stands out as an unfortunate and unprecedented incident in the club's storied history. The unnamed man responsible for the assault was likely craving some attention, and he got exactly that, with a video garnering over 100,000 views on YouTube alone.
17. Alia Vestal and Savannah Walker. A young woman named Maya Tremillo was viciously beaten by at least 2 other girls in 2022 after being lured to a park in Clifton, Texas. Alia Vestal, a woman who once considered herself Maya's best friend, allegedly asked Maya to return some shoes she'd borrowed. Maya thought it was an odd request, but came by with the footwear as promised. And as she approached Alia's car, a woman later identified as Savannah Walker rushed out of the vehicle and blindly attacked her. Maya tried walking away and was struck in the back of the head. As the suspects beat her, a third person filmed the fight and posted it on Snapchat. Footage of the brawl showed 2 girls pinning Maya to the ground and screaming at her. Someone found Maya in the park and took her to the hospital, where she was treated for a concussion, a sprained ankle, and multiple scratches. And in addition to her physical injuries, she was emotionally traumatized by the encounter. Maya's mother, Julie Cross, said that they'd called the police the night before to report Savannah Walker for threats and harassment, but they were told that there was nothing law enforcement could do to help because there wasn't enough evidence of a crime to act on the complaint. And surprise, surprise, the rivalry reportedly began over a boy and escalated from there. Alia and Savannah were charged with felony aggravated assault in retaliation, which can carry a sentence of up to 5 years if convicted. but at the moment, the current status and outcome of the case are unclear. 16. Loganlaramore and Faren Lane. It should be common sense that if you're going to commit a crime, you shouldn't record it and you definitely shouldn't post it online. But two 18-year-old women named Loganlaramore and Faren Lane apparently missed that memo when they decided to film themselves trespassing into a Myrtle Beach water park in 2017. In a series of Snapchat posts, the pair shared video of themselves scaling a fence to get into the Myrtle Waves water park at 4 a.m. They shared clips of themselves going down water slides, eating Italian ice they didn't pay for, and otherwise enjoying their illegal visit to the park without an apparent care in the world. However, someone shared the videos with the police, who quickly caught up with the gal pals and took them into custody on third-degree burglary charges. Laramore and Lane weren't the first people to bust themselves for trespassing because they shared evidence of it on social media. In fact, it seems to happen alarmingly often and was even the focus of a TikTok challenge, daring people to walk into complete strangers' houses without knocking. This is extremely dangerous for obvious reasons, especially in US states with gun laws that allow homeowners to shoot intruders without legal consequences. Guns or no guns, you never know how crazy someone might be or how far they're willing to go to defend their home against someone they perceive as a threat. TikTok took swift action to remove videos that appeared to show individuals participating in the challenge, but people continue to do it anyway. And it blew up on Reddit, mostly for the sake of making fun of people who were dumb enough to participate. 15. Victoria Waldrip. Better known by her social media moniker, Whoa Vicky, teenage social media influencer Victoria Waldrip didn't get famous by being likable. In fact, the 23-year-old thrives on drama and controversy. But it works for some people, especially those who aren't picky about what kind of attention they receive. Whoa Vicky became an internet celebrity in 2017 when she got into a viral beef with Danielle Bregoli, otherwise known as Bad Baby, and most infamously known as the Cash Me Outside girl who challenged Dr. Phil to a fight on national television. As the world looked on and collectively rolled their eyes, the young women exchanged vicious rap disses toward one another. Their rivalry eventually petered out, but they've both remained popular on social media ever since. While guest starring on the We in Miami podcast in 2023, Whoa Vicky stirred the pot once again by accusing rapper Lil Nas X of pretending to be gay as a publicity move to expand his fan base. She went on to say that some of her friends knew the musician in high school and that he wasn't gay back then, and that she thinks he needs Jesus. Vicky further speculated that Lil Nas X is simply doing what's in at the moment to boost his popularity. Many people were understandably offended by the influencer's remarks, but Lil Nas X didn't pay much mind to Vicky's commentary, mostly because he realized it didn't deserve his energy. The fact that she accused someone of being fake and acting out of character to gain a following is almost laughable to some, especially those who remember Whoa Vicky's bizarre controversy over her race. During the early days of her internet fame, she often presented herself as an African American woman in her posts and videos. Many people doubted that it was true, mainly because she looks white, but also because it seemed like she tried too hard to behave in ways that mimic African American stereotypes. Whoa Vicky stood by her claim, however, insisting that her ancestry results showed she was a quarter black. And at one point she shared a screenshot of the alleged results, which only added to the confusion by showing a 44% African ancestry, rather than the 25% she mentioned. It's unclear whether the image reflected her real results, but she was classified as white on an arrest report that was released after she allegedly kicked a cop at a mall in Georgia. It was also no secret that as far as Vicky's parents knew, nobody in their family had African ancestry. For many, this was enough to definitively clear up any confusion about Whoa Vicky's race. But the situation became even more bizarre when she posted a video stating that she didn't think she was black after all. More than anything, it sounds like the young woman was suffering from an identity crisis of sorts, or perhaps just doing what she does best and acting outrageous to generate reactions and views from her audience. 14. Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald. During the early days of social media, society was shocked whenever an online rivalry spilled over into real-life violence. But today, it's nothing shocking because it happens all the time. And in all honesty, the pettiness that comes along with deadly social media feuds only seems to be reaching disturbing new heights with time. In 2023, a war of words erupted between teens in rural Missouri when 18-year-old Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald reacted to a photo of 20-year-old Tanner Watkins and his girlfriend with the laughing emoji. In the comments, Watkins asked what was so funny. Then the situation quickly escalated into challenges between the parties to resolve the matter by fighting. The men agreed to settle the score at a local park. Fitzgerald brought along a female friend, while Watkins showed up with 18-year-old Caleb Ramsey. 2 carloads of people also arrived to watch the violent display, one in support of each side. But instead of duking it out in an old-fashioned fistfight, guns were involved and shots were fired from both vehicles. Fitzgerald was fatally struck in the face and several other people were injured, including the young woman he went to the park with, who was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. According to court documents, police swiftly responded to the sound of gunfire, and at the scene they found multiple guns. Ramsey and Watkins were charged with murder, 3 counts of assault, 4 counts of unlawful use of a weapon, and armed criminal action. But the outcome of their cases has yet to be decided. 13. Raymond Jalissant. When an off-duty New York City corrections officer named Dion Middleton felt something unusual hit his back while outside in the Bronx one morning in 2022, he reacted by pulling his gun and fatally shooting 18-year-old Raymond Jalissant. Middleton, who was 45 years old at the time of the incident, would later claim that he genuinely believed his life was in danger. He thought he was being struck by what felt like shards of glass and saw Jalissant sitting in the passenger seat of a nearby car. He explained that he thought he saw the teen making a threatening hand gesture before rolling up the car window, at which point he made the decision to shoot. By the time the police arrived, Middleton had fled the scene, and Jalissant was soon pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. Officers then tracked Middleton down at his job through surveillance footage and brought him in for questioning hours after the shooting. Inside the car Jalissant was riding in when he was shot, officers found a toy gun called a bead blaster, which was made for firing harmless gel pellets that are made from water. Being hit with the pellets might surprise someone, but it's not supposed to be painful like Middleton described, and he admitted he didn't hear gunshots before he decided to pull the trigger. News sources reported conflicting accounts of whether or not Middleton saw the toy gun in Jalissant's hands, but according to the New York Times, he admitted that he didn't see a weapon. Bead blasters are children's toys, but were being used by a lot of older teens and young adults at the time due to a TikTok trend that involved challenging people to shoot the beads at strangers. Some media outlets speculated that Jalissant was participating in the challenge when Middleton shot him. But the young man's sister, Gerida Esquian, told the New York Daily News that her brother was participating in a water gun fight to catch a break from the heat on a 90-degree summer day. And as a result of his needless actions, Middleton was suspended from his job without pay and charged with second-degree murder, first- and second-degree manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon. If convicted of the most serious charge, he could face life in prison. But to this day, he maintains that he acted in self-defense. 12. Brandon Clark. Bianca Devins and Brandon Clark met on Instagram in 2019. They were intimate at times, but Devins didn't want a serious relationship with Clark and ultimately decided that she only wanted to be friends. But Clark secretly remained hopeful that Devins would start wanting more, even though she'd been perfectly clear about her wishes. Meanwhile, Devins hoped that Clark understood that she wasn't going to change her mind. 3 months after meeting, they attended a concert together in New York City, where they met up with a mutual friend named Alex. During the drive back to Utica, where Devins and Clark both lived, they got into an argument. Clark had seen Devins kissing Alex and was in a jealous rage. And at some point during the disagreement, Clark lost all self-control and brutally assaulted Devins with a knife. He cut her neck so badly that he nearly decapitated her and posted a photo of her mutilated body on Discord. In the caption, he made a reference to a practice called orbiting, which more or less translates to following someone obsessively online, sometimes to the point of stalking. After killing the young woman, Clark built a bonfire near his vehicle and listened to a depressing song repeatedly. He then placed numerous calls to family members to say farewell, prompting them to worry and dial 911. Discord users who saw his gruesome post also contacted authorities, and Clark eventually called the police on himself. And that's when he was arrested for second-degree murder. Sadly, the online post showing Devin's murdered body generated widespread praise for Clark from the incel community. The self-identifying term, which is short for involuntarily celibate, is used by men who typically struggle to land dates and find relationships, and who deeply hate women, especially those who they perceive as out of their league. Armed with an extreme and unwarranted sense of entitlement, this extreme version of toxic masculinity promotes the belief that women deserve to be punished for not giving an incel what he feels is owed, regardless of whether she wants it or not. Devin's family has had to fight continuously to get the horrifying images removed from websites and social media, forcing them to relive the trauma of her murder over and over, while misogynistic trolls ensure that the photos continue to circulate. Their experience sparked campaigns for Bianca's Law, which would require large social media platforms to take more responsibility for removing violent content from their site. And in 2022, New York Governor Kathy Hochul signed a version of the law that criminalizes posting, sharing, or publishing personal images with the intent to degrade or abuse someone under certain circumstances. After initially pleading not guilty, Brandon Clark changed his plea to guilty. He then tried to withdraw the guilty plea, but was denied since he'd already admitted to the crime. And in the end, the court sentenced him to 25 years to life in prison. 11. Chandler Holderson. Bart and Krista Holderson enjoyed a typical upper-middle-class lifestyle in small-town America. They owned a nice house in Windsor, Wisconsin, and had 2 adult sons who seemed to be on the path to success. The couple didn't achieve their stable existence by being unreliable, so it was highly unusual when Krista failed to show up at her job one day in 2021 without explanation. And after failing to reach her by phone, a co-worker stopped by the family's residence to check on her. The Holdersons' youngest son, 23-year-old Chandler, told the concerned colleague that his parents had gone to their cabin that was 3 hours away for the 4th of July weekend. But 3 days later, Bart and Krista were still nowhere to be found. In a missing person report filed with the Dane County Sheriff's Department, Chandler claimed that his parents had been picked up and taken to the cabin by a couple he didn't recognize. But when law enforcement visited the cabin, it was immediately clear that nobody had been there for a very long time. Chandler was then brought in for additional questioning. Unaware that investigators had checked out the property, he claimed that his mom and dad went to the cabin to fix a plumbing emergency, and that he helped pack tools they needed before they left. During the interview, deputies informed detectives that they had found mutilated human remains on a property where Chandler had been seen wandering prior to reporting his parents missing. And that's when Chandler realized that the deck was starting to stack against him. So he ended the interview and asked for a lawyer. The remains were identified as Bart Holderson, and Chandler was charged with murder while authorities continued to search for Krista. Help came unexpectedly in the form of a tip from Chandler's girlfriend Catherine Melander, who'd recently been tracking his location on Snapchat. She'd noticed that he was in a remote area along the Wisconsin River and screenshotted it. And sure enough, Krista's remains were found at the site, and Chandler was hit with another murder charge. During a search of the Holdersons' home, police also found the gun they believe was used to commit the murders, along with more than 200 bone fragments in the fireplace and evidence of blood that had been cleaned up. Prosecutors accused the young man of killing his parents because they found out that he'd flunked out of college. Chandler had gone to great lengths to convince his folks that he was still attending classes. He even sent them fake emails to make it look like he was still enrolled. He'd also lied about joining a police scuba diving team and other job prospects. During his trial, Assistant District Attorney Andrea Raymond described how Chandler enjoyed a privileged upbringing, which made it especially difficult to make sense of his actions. He also showed little to no emotion throughout the proceedings. After deliberating for just 2 hours, the jury found Chandler guilty of killing his parents. He was sentenced to life without parole, but said that he planned to appeal his conviction. During the hearing, he asked for any attorneys who were interested in taking his case to reach out. He also said that it's not that I do not have feelings, it's that I was warned to not show them in the scrutiny of this case. 10 deadly social media dares. Scores of young people have hurt themselves and even accidentally caused their own deaths in recent years while performing dangerous social media challenges. One of the latest ways people have needlessly put their lives on the line in a bid for online fame came in the form of the Malaikat Maut or Angel of Death challenge. The trend, which involved jumping in front of moving trucks in the hope that the driver would be able to brake without hitting the person, went viral in Indonesia in 2022. It doesn't take a big imagination to figure out how this went horribly wrong. In the city of Tangerang, 2 18-year-old women were mowed down by a truck that couldn't avoid hitting them, and they both died from fatal head injuries. Police then caught and detained at least 14 more people that day for attempting the stunt. Just 2 days earlier, in the city of Bandung, a truck hit one of 2 teenage boys who jumped out in front of it. But by the grace of God, the young man survived with serious injuries, including a fractured skull and shattered teeth. While this was the first time the trend was mentioned in many news sources, it first appeared on social media at least a year earlier. In one of the early tragedies that came with the challenge, a truck plowed into a group of 8 people in 2021, striking 3 of them. 1 teenager died, while the other 2 were seriously injured. These are just a few examples of the many bad outcomes resulting from clout chasers doing dangerous things to boost their popularity on social media. And these stunts are often successful at achieving viral status, making it difficult to talk young people out of taking potentially fatal risks. Just weeks before the Angel of Death challenge made international news in 2022, the death of an 18-year-old Florida man named Timothy Isaiah Hall, better known as Timbo the Redneck, died while filming a video for social media. With more than 200,000 followers, Hall had already achieved influencer status when he crashed his truck while doing donuts in a friend's front yard for a TikTok video. Hall lost control of the truck in the middle of doing burnouts, causing the vehicle to flip and throwing him out of the vehicle. He landed on the ground and the truck landed on top of him, ultimately crushing him to death. There's no denying that Hall's dangerous driving helped to attract the kind of fame many people hope to achieve, but he paid for it with his life. 9. Screen-addicted teen slaughters dad. 51-year-old Anuad Chalbangdwe was at his wit's end when he asked his son, Pamurat, to take a break from playing video games one day in 2019. Ever since the teen was kicked out of school due to his chronic absences, he did nothing but sleep all day and spent every waking moment playing video games at the family's home in southern Thailand. But his lifestyle quickly became a major source of conflict for the household. Within moments of his father's request to put the controller down, Pamwarat grabbed a knife and stabbed Anuat in the back, and afterwards he fled the scene on his bicycle. Responding officers arrived at the home in Surat Thani to find the victim, a retired police sergeant, on the floor in a pool of blood. A trail of blood from the yard to the kitchen showed that the victim spent his final moments crawling inside in a desperate attempt to get help. Police tracked Pamwarat down at a restaurant, where they found him playing video games with a friend, and took him into custody on suspicion of murder. According to relatives, the young man's obsession caused him to skip school for days at a time, and getting expelled and having even more free time on his hands apparently only made the situation worse. Sadly, his unwillingness to step away from the TV screen for even just a few minutes and his impulsive anger toward his dad landed him in a place where basic comforts are scarce and video games are definitely not allowed. 8. Kiara McCully. In a horrifying act of violence that was equal parts bizarre and cruel, someone killed and tried to decapitate a 21-year-old woman named Grace Jennings at her home in Santa Fe, New Mexico in October 2022. Responding officers visited the residence in response to a call about a possible homicide and found Jennings' mutilated remains in a detached garage. And laying near her body was a bloody 3-foot-long sword. According to a criminal complaint, 25-year-old Isaac Apodancia made the 911 call after he told his mother that he saw his girlfriend killing a woman. And when officers arrived, they saw 19-year-old Kiara McCully running inside the house and slamming the door shut behind her. Apodancia and McCully were taken in for questioning and revealed that they'd shared a bed with the victim the night before. They also both claimed to have been romantically involved with Jennings in the past. McCully told police that she got upset with Jennings for failing to intervene while she was assaulted by several men. She also said she saw Jennings collecting money during the incident. The Santa Fe Police Department confirmed to local media that an assault report was filed in 2020, but that the details it contained were vastly different from the story McCully told after Jennings' murder. At one point during the interview, she mentioned having mental health issues and claimed not to remember what had happened. But she also allegedly said that she was partially hopeful that Jennings was dead and admitted to fantasizing about killing the victim on multiple occasions, which only furthered law enforcement's growing suspicion of her involvement. Meanwhile, in another interrogation room, Apodancia flatly denied any involvement in Jennings' death. Instead, he pointed the finger exclusively at McCully, claiming that she'd been planning to kill the victim for 2 years. A search of his text messages strongly indicated that he was both aware of and involved in the plot to kill Jennings. It even appeared as though Apodancia pressured McCully to follow through with the murder. Both suspects were charged with first-degree murder in connection with the case. However, McCully was initially found incompetent to stand trial. But after undergoing several months of mental health treatment, she was declared competent. And at the moment, her case is slated to go to trial sometime in August of 2023, with Apodancia to be tried separately at a later date. 7. Mysha Stanley. 21-year-old Amia Stanley and her brother, 22-year-old Mysha, were hardly the first pair of siblings to fight over the family television. They were hanging out at a relative's home in Cleveland, Ohio one day in 2023 when they began arguing because Amia wanted to watch a show and Mysha wanted to play Fortnite. What started out as a seemingly ordinary spat between siblings ended with Amia being shot more than 6 times. She was still alive when officers arrived at the scene, but sadly she died soon after. The siblings' aunt, Tasha Lett, told local station WCPO that Mysha has violent and aggressive tendencies and that he jumped on his sister and began wrestling with her during the disagreement. Lett said that Amia initially got away from Mysha and was heading upstairs to get away from him, but she was unaware that he had a gun and she was shot from behind. After shooting Amia once, Mysha allegedly fired 6 more bullets into her body before fleeing the house. Other relatives echoed the aunt's sentiments about Mysha having severe anger issues and said that he suffers from bipolar disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. They weren't surprised that he was capable of hurting someone, but they were shocked and devastated that his sister ended up being that person. A SWAT team arrested Mysha on suspicion of murder the day after the shooting, and at the moment he's being held on a $500,000 bond while he awaits his next court date. 6. A lethal thrill. Bored young people are sometimes known to pass the time in strange, destructive, and even deadly ways. And this was certainly the case for a trio of 18-year-olds from Colorado who killed an innocent driver during their reckless pursuit for a thrill. 20-year-old Alexa Bartel was talking to a friend on the phone while driving in Jefferson County one night in April 2023 when suddenly the call disconnected. Concerned for her safety, the friend tracked Alexa's location and drove to the scene. She found the young woman's vehicle crashed in a field, with the windshield shattered, and Alexa motionless behind the wheel with a fatal head injury. Law enforcement concluded that a large landscaping boulder had been deliberately thrown at her car, and that it was the rock and not the impact of the car crash that killed the victim. The tragedy came following a string of similar incidents that happened throughout the night, leaving 7 cars damaged and 2 drivers with minor injuries. Further investigation revealed that rocks had been thrown at cars in the area on multiple previous occasions over a 2-month period leading up to Alexa's death. Using a technique called geofencing, detectives used cell phone data to look for phone numbers that showed a pattern of being in close proximity to the rock-throwing incidents. And based on their findings and tips from the public, they identified the suspects as Nicholas Midge Carroll Chick, Joseph Koenig, and Zachary Quack. One tipster, who said that he'd been hanging out with the group earlier that night, said that Joseph Koenig frequently participates in destructive behavior and likes causing chaos. He told sheriff's deputies that he asked to be taken home when he saw his friends loading the bed of Koenig's truck with rocks from a Walmart parking lot because he just knew that something bad was going to happen. Koenig failed to talk with law enforcement after his arrest, but Carol Chick reportedly admitted to participating in similar behavior on at least 10 occasions. According to police, he said that all 3 of the suspects got excited when they hit cars. However, he and Quack gave conflicting stories about who threw the rock that killed Alexa. But after striking Alex's car, Quack snapped a photo of her vehicle as a memento. The young men each faced charges of first-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder, second-degree assault, and attempted second-degree assault. But we'll have to wait and see what sentence they receive. 5. Jose Diaz-Contreras. During the pre-dawn hours one morning in May 2023, Baltimore County Police responded to a reported shooting at a Motel 6 in Kansville, Maryland. Guests would later tell local station WBAL-TV that they awoke to the sound of multiple gunshots. One witness went into the hallway to investigate and was startled to find 2 victims on the floor. 30-year-old Javier Argueta died at the scene, and 2 other victims aged 19 and 25 were taken to the hospital with none life-threatening injuries. Investigators initially declined to specify what they believed led up to the shooting, but they reassured the public that it was most likely an isolated incident and didn't appear to be a random act. According to charging documents obtained by WBAL, responding officers found 18-year-old Jose Diaz-Contreras wandering around in the motel parking lot. Surveillance footage appeared to show the young man pulling a handgun from beneath his coat and firing several rounds. Diaz-Contreras allegedly admitted to committing the shooting during questioning, telling investigators that he couldn't stop. He was booked on charges of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder, and is being held without bail as he awaits his next court date in June 2023. And, unfortunately, authorities are still working to establish a motive for the senseless crime. 4. Cameron Robbins. After graduating from high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2023, 18-year-old Cameron Robbins celebrated by traveling to the Bahamas with his classmates. During a sunset cruise, the star baseball player took his peers up on a dare to jump off the ship. Bystander footage showed someone throwing the young man a life preserver while his peers shouted at him to grab on. However, he seemed distracted by a shadowy shape in the water and appeared to be trying to swim away from it when he suddenly vanished beneath the surface. It was dark and the footage is blurry, but many people who have watched it believe it shows Robbins trying to escape from a shark. And this wouldn't be surprising, since the waters where he jumped in are known to be heavily shark-infested. The boat's crew members looked for Robbins but couldn't find him, so they called for help. Multiple agencies then participated in a search for the teen, including the US Coast Guard. But not a single trace of him turned up, and the effort was called off after a few days. Robbins was presumed dead, and authorities extended their condolences to his family. And without a body, the nature of his death remains unclear. It's hard to explain what possesses people to do things that are obviously dangerous in response to a dare or challenge. But in hindsight, many, if not most people, have done at least one or two things that seem incredibly reckless. 3. Madeline Davis. 21-year-old Madeline Davis wanted to see the world while she was still young. So, after visiting Thailand and Bali in 2019, the British beautician headed to Australia. She was having the time of her life with a group of friends when tragedy struck at the most unexpected moment. After pulling an all-nighter at a house party, Madeline and several others went to watch the sunrise over Diamond Bay in Sydney. Everyone got so caught up in taking photos that they somehow failed to notice when the young woman fell off a 262-foot-high cliff. When they finally realized Madeline was missing, they contacted authorities, who found her body wedged in a rock shelf 55 feet underwater. An autopsy revealed that her blood alcohol content was twice the legal limit for driving. She also had amphetamines, cocaine, ketamine, and MDMA in her system. Everyone in the group was heavily intoxicated, which explains why it took them so long to realize that Madeline was no longer with them. The coroner concluded that her death was the result of a tragic accident and that nobody else was at fault for it. And according to an official report, she climbed over a fence into an unauthorized area before she fell. Madeline wasn't the first person to suffer a horrific accident at the site, which is popular among tourists for its scenic beauty. Over the years, the fences and danger signs have gotten taller and bigger in hopes that more people will heed their caution. But visitors continue to ignore the warnings and, unfortunately, pay for it with their lives. 2. Katrina Lee. In a bizarre display that she later described as Gen Z humor, 20-year-old Katrina Lee allegedly threatened to shoot up a mental hospital in Green Bay, Wisconsin in January 2023. Employees at the hospital got police involved after someone alerted them to the threats, which appeared online and on Snapchat. According to police, Lee knew a patient at the facility. A screenshot of one of the alleged threats stated that there'd no longer be a hospital soon because she was about to shoot it up. The person who wrote the statement said that they'd failed to get in touch with the patient after calling multiple times and that the hospital had been pissing them off all morning. At the time the threats were made, police were unsure of whether the suspect had access to any weapons, so they tracked the post to Lee's address and paid her a visit. Lee reportedly admitted to making the threats, but said that she had no plans to act on her words. She further explained that she was at her wits' end with the hospital's poor communication and the inferior quality of the food and doctors there. During the conversation with law enforcement, Lee reiterated that she wasn't going to act on her threats and that it was just Gen Z humor, but she was nevertheless booked on one count of misdemeanor disorderly conduct and one felony count of making terroristic threats. If convicted of the felony charge, she could face up to 3.5 years in prison, while the disorderly conduct charge carries a sentence of up to 90 days in jail. 1. Alexander Barrow. Nobody knows why 23-year-old Alexander Frank Barrow drove 1,700 miles to kill a young gamer he didn't personally know in 2020. He'd met 18-year-old Matthew Thane online, but no logical reason to travel from the greater San Francisco area to the Dallas-Fort Worth suburb of Flower Mound. There was also no obvious motive for Barrow to lure the avid Call of Duty player outside and shoot him. According to police, a helmet-clad Barrow approached the property with a propane tank at around 6 a.m. and lit it on fire. He waited for Thane to exit the house, fatally shot the young man, then got back into his vehicle and drove straight back to California. And in less than 72 hours after leaving for Texas, he was back home. When Barrow didn't answer the door for law enforcement when they showed up at his residence with a search warrant, police broke into his apartment and found him dead. Lacking any other explanation for the bizarre tragedy, investigators concluded that the incident may have stemmed from a video game-related disagreement.
Would you rather be the victim of a harmless public prank that leaves you embarrassed but uninjured, or witness a dangerous prank on someone you don't know that could have left them seriously hurt? Which would be worse? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.